Hey, everybody, and welcome to Lost in the Groove. Today we have a special guest, somebody that loves the music, loves the comics, loves a good experience. We're pleasure today to have Prince George here to join us. How you doing, man?
I am blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? And yeah, who is Prince George?
I'm a writer, producer, and spokesman for an artist for a company called Warzone Comics.
So you mentioned Warzone a bit in your biography. I actually went over to the website. What exactly is Warzone Comics?
Warzone Comics is a comic book entertainment company that was started officially in 2000 and March 3rd, 2002.
Hmm.
But it's been around before then. We've been known as a company or as an idea, a shell of a company since 1997. Like when we were in junior high school and high school before. So like in 2002, we decided to make an official company, and we've been running ever since. Where we technically make our own comics and our own games and toys and things of that nature.
So let me ask you, what kind of games are you making? Like, is this anything particular, or
One of the games we were making is called Bugsy, The Becoming, which, as you look at behind me, like the posters are generic posters of our character Bugsy. So, like, we technically make our own, it's our own characters and stuff. Like you see, the shirt I'm wearing is from our characters.
damn? That's honestly like next level, because you know you're able to show like your own creativity. Like it's literally like you have a shirt of it. You have this ability to be able to just like go out there. Let me ask you something. In the past like 2 decades that you've been doing this, what exactly has like been inspiring you to continue through this?
That's a funny question. It's just a love for it. I mean, you have to have a love for it. You have to have something you love, despite if you're going to make money or not. And when the money part is just icing on the cake. If you're out there for money only, those days you're not making money, you're going to get discouraged completely. To be honest, if you have to have a love and passion and determination to push yourself every day. I mean, because like there are days where you get up and it's just you and your pen and pad, and either you're writing, you're drawing, you're putting stuff together. And if you have to have if you're gonna have a team, you're gonna have just as much loyal team to you than anything else as well too. And you're gonna be sort of like joined at the hip, like as a family. So you got to have people you kind of like, or at least
Yeah.
grow to love as family.
Yeah, because you need to have people that you can trust and rely on, and not rely on because you can't handle yourself, but it's because you know that they have your back,
I mean,
vice versa. Yeah.
it's true, but that in the sense that I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true. But sometimes that comes with the territory because, like, sometimes you can have a common interest, and over a period of time, you tend to grow into becoming a family. It doesn't always start the idea that you know what you they don't know or what you need to know,
So it's
or
not planned.
it's not really something that's like there. It's something
Okay.
that's grown over a period of time, and then you can be like, oh, okay, I can trust this person to do this, and I can trust this person to do that, and you'll learn their gifts and their talents and their expertise and things of that nature, and they get to know you. Because trust me, it's a slippery slope. Like, because sometimes you can be doing a project and you can give a person a project, and then you realize, oh wait. that's not the right person to do that project. Or the other person is better at that than that person is. I thought that person can do it, and yikes.
Sometimes dynamics just don't work with people. You know, I can say this. I had somebody I did this year. We did a music segment for my podcast, and it didn't go well. Our vibes, our dynamic, our personalities didn't mesh. But the thing is, we were both podcasters. You know, we kind of were able to pull in and from our love of what we were talking about, the music which we were talking about Michael Jackson. Um, but you bring out an excellent point. Like you don't know, you think that you're going to go in there and it's going to be all great, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes things change.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So like for yourself, what exactly what exactly do you do like behind the scenes? Are you doing all the works, like all the designs?
Um, no, I have a team who does different things. I do know some of what they're doing and how to do it, but
Okay.
no, that's where the trust comes in because not everybody is strong sometimes to realize that you know what you're saying. I mean, not that they don't believe what you're saying, but sometimes you got to know where to cut off and where to just oversee things and learn how to oversee things and how to talk to people because they're still people nonetheless, right? So like
Right.
sometimes you just gotta know, okay, well, this is your area. I can't overstep that area. I gotta walk. I gotta walk away and do a couple woosahs a couple times before I can technically let you figure it out the best way you know how to, and just sit back and instruct here, there, or oversee things and go off and build other things while they're doing whatever they're doing.
Basically like a collaborative effort. Having all of these people like creative thinkers and doers.
Yes and no. Yes, because you have to let them do what they're doing, but
Right.
because Bugsy, the character, has been known longer than some of the people who's been around in the company itself, right? So, like, I would say, like, when Warzone Comics came about in 1997, or we started creating characters in 1997, right? We were teenagers and kids and stuff when we were creating these characters. So when you form a company, and like we formed a company in 2002, a lot of the people who was around initially in 1987 wasn't around in 2002 when the company came about as an actual company. So everybody who came in 2002 and after that didn't know the history of the character and what people knew about the character and knew about Warzone Comics and knew about who we were and what we were trying to technically do. So it becomes a training ground for educating them in the history of the character Bugsy and what they knew about Warzone Comics and taking what they people knew about the character and the company and all that and keeping the bare bones parts of the company and the character and all that and then reestablishing something new.
It's interesting because it's from a different like generation, from a time period very different to ours that we have now. When you're talking about like 97, like culture was different, people's ideas were different. I mean, society itself were completely different. And it you can explain that culture to people now, but I don't think you can actually like understand it unless you've been there.
Well, let me say it this way, and I can laugh at this because for people out there who don't really understand the idea of 1997 up until 2002, the internet wasn't what the internet is right now. You know, how right now you can just you can pop onto the internet and do whatever,
Yeah.
right? And how you take the idea of something. I think sometimes people you can jump on in the social media or you can jump on whatever, right? That was nothing. There was internet, but there was dial up. So
Yeah.
just imagine having your
It was
phone
slow.
line connected to your computer.
Yeah.
right?
Couldn't
And
make phone
everybody
calls.
had the internet. So like, but when you did have it, it was dial up. It wasn't like slow, but it wasn't what it is right now as
Oh,
internet.
honey, it was bad. It was bad. You couldn't use your phone. That was the thing. You had to make a choice. You either are going to go online or you're gonna call somebody. Those were your options.
But
You
then
know,
but then too, there wasn't
a lot of
back then we had
limitations.
to go outside and play. There wasn't
Yeah.
the video games are different. The time itself is different. There was no social media. There's no Yahoo. Matter of fact, yeah. So like it was a whole different time. So when you're creating, think about it. When you're creating characters, you're sometimes creating characters to entertain yourself and entertain your friends and things of that nature, right?
Right.
Now it's kind of like you can just jump on the internet and play a video game, and internet's fast and it's just there, and you have a cell phone. And everybody's carrying a cell phone. Back then, there's no cell phone. There wasn't. People didn't carry cell phones. There wasn't cell phones, and the phones you had were this big. So everybody wouldn't want to carry it. So yeah, I mean, times changed, technology's changed, and that's one of the things I say that Warzone has been good at about adapting to the changes of technology and things that's available, and how you can um, bring everything up to date. It's like sort of like this, like doing podcast. You know, like I also do a podcast as well too and stuff. But like when I learned how to
Gonna get
do
into it.
when I learned how to do the what you would consider a podcast, I didn't do it from a podcast initially.
Oh,
I did it from an actual radio station. So
okay. So you took like like the broadcaster, like that background of being in like a radio
you
station.
know how when you mentioned the idea of going on our website, right?
Hmm.
Do you ever look at the page where it says our podcast?
I did. Yes.
Okay, you see the page where it says our podcast. And you see me at a radio station, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So that was actual radio station. I did for 5 years.
You
So
worked. You worked in a radio station. Oh my god,
actually
that's really
radio
cool.
station. So like you see how people take for granted the idea. Like you know how if you go on your podcast, you can plug and play music and upload music to your podcast and all that other good stuff,
Right.
commercials and all that. Look at the pictures again. On my left hand side, you see there's like CD decks and tape decks and things of that nature. And then on my right hand side, near where the computer is, if there's other tape decks, and off the screen there is a recorder. All that stuff you have to run by yourself. There wasn't a engineer person helping you. Some people had an person who ran equipment, but all of the equipment you guys run in your computer, I ran physically as an actual piece of gear.
You're a cool dude because I was just looking at the pictures and got Windows XP going on in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to literally, but you have to literally
Mm.
program all of your music by hand.
Hmm.
If anything skipped, if any of your tape decks or CD decks skipped, you would just have to technically roll with it. There wasn't an idea of going back and say, okay, well, I'm okay and it's fine and whatever. And it was live,
Yeah.
so people technically
Different
heard you
times.
when you messed up. You messed up.
Different times. It's crazy because like that was a period where you want to talk about music, you'd burn CDs. You know, like you wanted to make a mixtape. That was like the coolest shit you could do.
Well, that radio station was in 2000. That's radio station was like in the early 2000s, so it wasn't that long ago. To be honest, that radio station, the whole Windows XP picture
Hmm.
and those tape decks wasn't that long ago. That was from 2002 to like 2000. I would say 2009,
Yeah.
2010. So it wasn't that long ago that we had that technology and how technology has grown faster than anything else.
In the past 10 years, oh yeah, God, I mean, just being alive in the past 20 years and seeing the changes that have been going on is insane. I mean, we've moved faster in the past 20 years than we have moved in the past 60.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you look at, I mean, especially like what you're talking about, especially with the music industry. And I want to hear your thoughts about this. Now, a lot of independent artists are able to create their own labels and records and produce their own music without using a production or label such as Universal Group or anything like that. And I think that's crazy because if we go back 20 years, it's almost impossible.
But what I will say is there's I have no discredit to anybody who's creating music because I also create music as well too and stuff. But what I will say, there's a lot of great music out there from a lot of different great artists and things of that nature. But then there are artists who I think realistically what we need more of is a lot of we need to. Well, I'm not saying because I don't study music like everybody's music that way, but there are a few people who are business minded and does music, and then there are just artists.
Yeah, there's a difference.
I mean, because like the ones who are successful learned the business end and the music end, because there's a music business, right? And I have heard music that I technically like for sure. And I've you can hear the difference between when there are labels and then when there are independent artists. So there is a difference, but I'm happy to hear that a lot of people is actually creative and creating a lot of music for sure.
Well, you bring up a good point because an artist's mind will be different than, for example, someone that is more geared towards business or profession. And there are a lot of people that do work in the more business side of things in entertainment that are good people. You know, they're generally like people that can understand artists because they've experienced somewhat something of themselves, but they wanted to go towards this path. Uh, I always feel like there is a balance between things if you want to find them. But you're right. There is a difference, especially when you're listening to the music. But I think there's also a beauty that comes with that when you can hear those differences.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if I think realistically, and the importance of doing the business part is how you're making money, is where the money itself has come from. And I
Right.
think realistically, having the passion to do music or having the passion to do anything, you have to have a do anything, you have to have passion for it. But at the same time, in this world that we live in, you have to make money. There's bills going to still accumulate, and you're still going to get bills and things of that nature. So, yeah,
The world wasn't built for artists.
huh?
The world wasn't built for artists. Like,
No, I mean, I believe that there are great artists, but I think realistically, you have to have an equal balance of both.
right.
Realistically, I should say I encourage a lot of people to do to kind of do both. But then again, with the world the way it is right now with technology, um, you can create a lot of music and hand it off to someone else to technically do the business end. You don't have to know it because a lot of people can just get other people to do it. So
Yeah, and you like, you touched on earlier where in life when you come in contact with people and you start building a relationship with them and you build this bond, sometimes those people will become those partners that do different tasks and things that are a part of your career. Uh, it's not where like you're giving up to the man. You're being realistic with yourself and realizing like what you can physically handle. And you know that this you can rely on this person to do these things because you've known what this person can and can't do.
I mean, yeah, I mean, again, like the one of the pieces of advice I've ever gotten from my mentor, Professor Da Vinci. Um, because he's also a producer and writer and things of that nature for a company called Kingsha. And he was telling me when I was beginning my beginning stages of doing television, because I did a cable show as well too for at least 6 years, which
Hmm.
we're launching our cable show on Amazon Prime in July.
Oh
But
wow.
his advice to me was learn a little what everybody else is doing, whether you use it or not. You learn what everybody else is doing, so that way you can at least um, if you don't use it or not, but at least know what everybody else is doing, so you can make their job easier. If that makes any sense. Because then if you can know if you're a writer, you know when you hand a job to a writer, you know how easy their job is or how much time that it takes for them to be able to get this writing done. Or if you're an artist, you know if you hand a project to an artist, you know how long it should take them to do it or whatever the case is and stuff, right? So you don't
Yeah.
have to be like hitting them with the iron fist when you don't need to, right?
Right.
Or you know when they're uh, BSing and stuff. So you get a chance to weigh people out and stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you have to kind of like picking and choosing, but it's kind of not. It's just finding the right person for the right task, and seems easier said than done. But I can tell you from my own experience, it's hard. You know, I've had quite a multiple of hosts that have been on this podcast, like quite a
But you got
few.
but you got to admit that's the
Yeah,
fun part. That's the
yeah,
part that most people don't want to technically do, and because it's like you're picking up a new a tool, a new muscle about yourself, and not only are you getting to know other people, you get to know yourself. You get to know your tolerance. Because then you'll be like, because in the beginning, I'm pretty sure you'll be like, you get frustrated by it because it's like, wait, I, you didn't do what I wanted you to do and how you want to do it. And then later you're like, okay, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting you not to do this, and you're not expecting you not to do this, and you're expecting not to do that. So let me back up, and you may be cool with what I need you to do, but let me explain it to you this way. Let me show you
right
this
up,
way.
right on the motherfucking tee, honey.
You're like, wait, let me rethink that. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
expecting too much. Let me back up for a second and teach it to you this way. I get you get it that way, but let me just show you to you this way, and this is the way I'm trying to technically do. And they were like,
yeah,
oh, I get it. Like, okay, cool. We're
yeah.
good now.
Yeah. And it's like, this is why I love talking with artists because when you're dealing with people that have the experience and the knowledge base of that life experience, like, you know, I like to call it the struggle, but honey, it's the grind, and it teaches you a lot along the way. You realize different kind of people that you generally wouldn't ever come to know. You're like, damn, I would have never met this person.
True, but my experience and all of the
Yeah.
business parts you hear me probably will tell you, whether it becomes music or television or movies or anything else, right? All of
Yeah.
my stuff stems from art. My the journey of Warzone Comics all stems from art, right? And using the initial gift, and everybody else came to it. It was more or less the idea of just working to technically accomplish a goal in itself, and people seeing the actual gift.
Yeah. It's like you being able to show the most authentic version. The most like, let's be real. Being being authentic and being real and true to the form. Like you were saying, being true to the art. It's what it stems to.
I
You
mean,
gotta
yes, it's like me being an artist, and the team I have has been artists, and it's Mr. Easily being an artist, and the owner of the Warzone Comics and stuff. All of us been artists. When you're in positions like again, like me being like I'll go back to saying like about starting the TV show, like the TV show, the Prince George show, the TV show. That came about because we were an artist. Was helping out someone else doing a show, and started doing that show, and helping someone else. and the studio that the show was being produced in knows they were artists, and we had a eye for production and art and stuff, and asked us to do our own show, and we was like, wait, what? Like, we wasn't planning on it. We wasn't planning on it, but okay, like
You
that's
just like walked in, like just walked right into it.
yeah. I mean, just hanging out, laughing, joking, helping out, trying to help someone else perfect their show, and got our own. Walked into it and was like, "Hey, how about you doing your own stuff?" And he was like, "No, we don't want to." At first, and then a couple studios came and was like, "Now what do you think? We think you should." And was like, all right, I guess." No, we're not like tripping about it, but okay, great, we'll do it. And someone else at the radio station, when we had a connection from the TV show, and someone who worked at the TV show, one of our crew members was working at the radio station as well too and stuff. And someone needed an art piece for an album cover, and we walked into a radio station to help that person out to get interviewed on the radio station as a trade off. Doing their art cover for an interview for our for Warzone Comics. And when we went in, we did the interview, we did the art cover, and was walking. I was walking down the stairs as a representative of the company, of course. I was walking down the stairs, and there was an audition happening that day, and they was like, "Hey, how about you? Here's an audition for to be in the radio, doing radio." And I was like, I do this already on TV." And I was like, "Yeah, what?" They gonna say either they're gonna say yes or they're gonna say no. And
Right.
went in and tried to audition and passed it, and it was like, "That's weird." All right, whatever. And started laughing. It was like, all right, and we expanded.
Crazy. It's like it's like the universe planned it each way, like along the way. You know, it's kind of like crazy to just walk into something like, yeah, okay, sure, we'll work on it. Yeah, we'll make it happen. It's just it's so weird because we all have this. I have this thing of like, set goals and hit that thing, accomplish that. But when you're in that environment of just like sorry, when you're in that environment and you just go for it, you just do it.
You just have to be prepared. You know the idea of just being prepared. Like today, like coming into your show, I didn't know what the questions would be, how far we'll go in, and I just basically stay prepared. Like you could ask me anything, and I'll technically be like, okay, well, here's the answer to this question, or here's the answer to that question, and not necessarily knowing what the show particularly is for the most part, or what you're going to ask me for the most part.
Well, the thing is, I don't like to view it as questions. I'd like to view it more as trying to learn more from the other person. The whole idea is that when you sit down, and this is what I love the most, when you sit down with an individual, any type of individual, such as yourself, and you have a career, you have a business, you have knowledge to give over. I think the coolest part about all of this is, especially with podcasting, is I'm able to leave out of this, which with you giving me knowledge,
Excuse me.
Gesundheit,
Thank you.
uh, giving me knowledge and expertise on things that I didn't know before, or I didn't even think of, and that's what I find the most fascinating thing.
I mean, I noticed that you have the podcast part, but what are you doing with your video part?
So these go out on YouTube. We do full version that goes out, and then I do a pod clip, which I do pod series on YouTube, and then they go out throughout different social media
Okay,
places. Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah, because like I feel like again, and I want to hear more. If you want to talk about like your music career, what kind of music do you create?
we create a genre called rap rock renaissance, which is like everybody know what rap is,
Uh
rap,
huh.
rap or whatever, and
Yeah.
then everybody know what rock is.
Hmm.
But Renaissance music, pretty much when I tell people Renaissance music, they be like, "Wait, Renaissance music? What is Renaissance?" And I'm like, "Well, music is from the like 1920s before up to present, so it's kind of like a music fusion. So like music specifically, we do all genres of music, but like some of it is pure a specific genre, and then sometimes it's a fusion of different stuff. Like so, like it can be a fusion of rap, gospel, um, jazz. It could be of any kind of like genre for the most part, but they go hand in hand with what we are trying to technically do. And so, like we released an album in 2016 called Baby G's and Q album, which we play on our podcast right now for the most part.
That's so
And
dope.
also we're working on a soundtrack for the Bugsy Becoming movie that we're working on that we're looking to release this summer. So we're
You,
turning the comic book, the first comic book, Bugsy, into an actual movie project where I play the character. By the way,
oh my god, that's
so
so fun.
we bring in the character. This is our second time bringing the character to life. The first time we brought this character to life was in 2005, and we got accepted in the industry as a movie project. And we thought it was a too short. We thought it was like a too short for our taste. So we recently started revamping and revamping the story and adding things to it and adding sequels and prequels to it. So now we're bringing the actual first project to actual movie project and as an audio book as well as revamping the comic book itself. So
Wait,
hence the idea of we see shirts and hats and waters and
so is it going to be it's animation or is
no,
it
it's live action.
it's live action?
Yeah.
Damn, that's going to be a fucking trip.
Yeah, okay. Okay, if you went to the web, okay, of course, you've been to the website, correct? You ever say that part where I start our theatrical releases?
Let me see. On there right now. Oh damn.
Okay, you see this poster. You see this poster on our my right hand side.
Yeah.
That poster, this right hand poster on the right hand side, is that poster live action on our website. So I'm that character. So like the one you see on our website is me as this character, live action.
That's so fucking cool. So you do a live action version of the comic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. I mean, it's not like that hasn't been done before.
But you know what? It's the idea, but it's to make it's what the character is.
Right.
The thing is, it's not that it hasn't been done before. That people turning their comic books into live action movies, right?
Right.
But it's our twist on the idea of what a live action movie is, right? So it's in the vein of what Warzone Comics is. So it's um there's a difference in comic book movies though. Like if you're into comic book movies, you know there's the action action comic book movies, the ones you see in movie theaters,
Like
right?
Marvel and
Yeah,
DC. Yeah.
like Marvel and DC, right? You see those movies in movie theaters because they're action driven stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are also movies that Marvel and DC don't release in theaters. They're released to like Netflix and things of that nature, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus. Like Luke Cage, for instance, right? Is a story driven story. Or Jessica Jones is a story driven story, right?
Right.
You'll never pretty much see a Luke Cage movie or a Jessica Jones or Iron Fist in the movie theater. Do you know why?
Uh, I could guess, but I probably would get it wrong.
Because they're story driven stories. Think about it. There's not really a lot of action in it until you hear what's going on in their brain or in their
Well,
story in their
okay. Well, if you look at if I read comics, and I used to collect comics when I was a teenager. Uh, and it's true. It's a story on a story. Like if you get Luke Cage comics like from this, like the 70s and 80s, they're long. They're very long. Like they're thick. Like they're thick comics, and it's a long story. And there's a little bit of action, but there's not. But like the thing that draws you into
That's
is
what,
the story.
but that's what I meant. This is what I meant when I said they're story driven stories. In this,
Yeah,
like
yeah, one hundred
like in the
percent.
sense that you sense like how he was a cop, he was a cop of some sort, and how he went off and went to prison and all that stuff, right?
Right.
That stuff they don't show you in a movie theater because it takes too long to technically draw out a story with it, right?
You
And if
can't
you
see all
miss
the pieces.
and if you miss a section of it, it throws the whole story off.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
like you can get away with that. You can get away with not telling the full big story with like Iron Man or Superman or Thor or something else, right? Something you couldn't do with uh, you couldn't do with Iron Fist or Jessica Jones and stuff like that, or Luke
Right.
Cage. You couldn't do that with Luke Cage because all this stuff has to be in the story for you to understand exactly what he's doing.
Right. Like you can't like it's the point of you have to watch 10-hour episodes to understand the story. You can't just make 1 hour of that 10 hours. It's just not possible.
But my attempts, our attempt is we're going to technically change that landscape a little bit.
You're going to try that.
To a degree, you'll see action, but you'll see a story within the idea of what we're trying to tend to accomplish.
So let me ask you something. You've talked about Bugsy quite a bit. What for you yourself, who is Bugsy to you?
Bugsy is to me and to Warzone Comics what Spider Man is to Marvel.
Oh god. Well, there's a lot of different Spider-Man. I mean, the Spider-Verse, there's the different versions of Spider-Man, which doesn't really make a difference, but
I mean, in the sense of this,
yeah.
Bugsy is what they consider our blue chipper, or a character that starts the stories. Right? We have 500 characters. We have over 500 characters, including Bugsy. Right? But Bugsy is our gateway into the idea of our other stories, sort of. Right? We can start with any other character, and you'll still get the idea of just the idea of what we're trying to technically do. Bugsy's just one of those characters that people know of, been knowing of, and figure they know, or they're comfortable with, right?
Right.
And I can tell anybody from anywhere about Bugsy, or they can see Bugsy, and they'll technically be like, we want to know more about him," right? I can give you any other character. We can give you any other character, and you may or may not be receptive to it right away. But
Well,
Bugsy,
it's the same okay, it's the same thing to people that love Marvel. There are characters in Marvel that are not very well popular, but there are people that will draw really well to them because that's a character they can relate to. But there's always that gateway character, like with you see Bugsy, and then you're like, okay, this is interesting. I want to see more. And then you're like, okay, there's another character, and then you fall in love with that character. I like that. It's a good kind of gateway drug.
well, Bugsy, and in Bugsy though, in the first story at least, you'll get a chance to get acquainted with some characters, and a few characters here and there in the story. Not necessarily, whether they're directly or indirectly mentioned in the story. So when you get around to them, you'll feel like you know them. So it's cool. I like it. I mean, it's fun.
It's a
It's
it's a
fun.
good kind of it's a good kind of fun, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the music itself, like it, with this project itself, all the things that we talked about, um, me doing or us doing, right? You'll get a chance to see this in this project. You'll get a chance to hear more of the music that you asked about. you get a chance to hear the music in Bugsy. You get a chance to experience Bugsy. You get a chance to experience everything that we've done up until now in this project itself.
It's kind of fucking cool to make a movie. You
You get a
know,
chance
it's
to, you know how I was telling you about doing a podcast or talking about doing a TV show, or you talked about doing. You get a chance to experience all of it collectively as one major, bigger project.
it's a massive undertaking.
It's the fun part. I mean, if you didn't have a challenge of saying, okay, we're gonna do this and attempt this and get it and make it work for who we are as a company, right? And whether we hit our mark, which we have so far, what we were doing so far, or not, it's on us. Like you like what we did, great. If you, this is something pretty much a love letter to our fans. The ones who's been with us since the beginning, you'll get a chance. And the new fans who don't know about Bugsy and want to know about Bugsy, you'll get to know about him. But the ones who already know about Bugsy and who he is and what we've done over a period of time we've been in business, it's a love letter to them. They'll be like, oh, wait, we get what you just technically did. We get what you just technically did to us. We get it. We get it. We love it. Okay, we see what you just did. We want
It
more.
this kind of like something that I could relate with this is it's called Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was a movie that came out in 1974 with Tim Curry. And to make a long story short, they're basically these transsexual. They're from transsexual Transylvania. It's a planet far, far away. And it's just this bizarre movie. You know, this random couple goes there, and this insane guy creature. Like, and there's tons of dates. So the main premise of the story is you have to watch this with a live audience. That's the point. You get the premise of being there with an audience. So that's what they're trying to do. Two, it emphasizes like a Broadway production where you're part of the stage, where you're screaming at you're screaming at the stage and, oh, why'd you do that? Oh, you stupid, so on and so forth. So everybody's engaged into it. Three, they have music, like there's dancing performances. So there's a part of it to like emulate to. And you have this introduction to multiple different characters throughout the show that show different levels of emotions, insanity, and that was a massive undertaking and it failed. But because there was a cult following, to this day, people still fucking watch the still watch the movie. And I feel like what you're talking about with Bugsy is you have this audience that is attached to this character, and even for people that are new, now they have like something that they can see all of it. The music, everything all tied in once. Again, massive undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fun part. I mean, I don't see it doing any other way because
Right.
like it's using all the different gifts you learned and the different experiences you learned and all the people that came about and stuff. It's saying, okay, well, here's maybe an art piece by this artist, or there may be a piece of music by this person, or this person directed, or this person produced, or this person wrote this, right? And fusing everybody's talent together. So it's not just about one person. It's about a collective of people who, for better or worse, believed in this character in this project. So it brings everything together.
It's one of it's one idea that we've kind of forgotten, which is coming together. I think we both can relate to the times where we had to be with other people. That's how we played video games. Played outside. You know, we sat down and had dinner with our families. It was just a different way, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist now. It still can.
But you know what? But see, people have to want it. I mean, now you don't have to go outside. You can play video games all day. You on your cell phone all day, and which is nothing wrong with it. But I also like the idea of having fun with other people and be like, okay, well, this is an idea, and then too, like the Bugsy project initially, we didn't do it all in one place. That's the thing. Another thing about this Bugsy project, all of the pieces that were formed, that was made in this project initially, different parts, wasn't done exactly in all in one place, like in stuff. It takes it back to the grassroots, like how Marvel initially did it initially when they had different artists and different writers and different things in different places and stuff when they did art and this different stuff. Where
They were
we
bought by Disney.
kind of doing that as well too and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you want to talk about Marvel. Phew, that's that's a lot of characters. It's a lot of characters.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? But there's a lot of characters still that they are not using, and I still love Marvel, like Marvel, DC. I love Image Comics. Image Comics done the Spawn comic books in the Spawn movie. They've done The Walking Dead as well too. You know the movie, the TV show, The Walking Dead. It's also through Image Comics, and
Oh
so
wow!
yeah,
So it's a comic book series.
yeah. Like, but you know the funny part: the 7 artists who left Marvel and DC Comics in 1992 started their own comic book company called Image Comics. So like, so they are like some of the characters they're using in Marvel movies right now were created by some of the character people who now form Image.
That's crazy.
Oh, did you know that? Correct?
Hmm?
You knew that, correct?
No, I did not know that until
Okay,
now.
you know the guy who created the Amazing Spider-Man books, like
Mm-hmm.
the some of the Amazing Spider-Man books.
Yeah.
The guy who created the Amazing Spider-Man book, one of the guys who created the Amazing Spider-Man books,
Mm-hmm.
is the guy who created Spawn.
That's really that's
Yeah,
crazy. Damn, same
yeah.
person. I
No,
mean,
but then again, like all the toys you see in the world, right? All the all the figurines and action figures and all that.
mm-hmm.
You heard of McFarlane toys?
I think that was before my time.
No, but okay. Let me explain this. You know all the football figurines and the basketball figurines
Yeah.
and baseball and hockey figurines.
Mm-hmm.
That's who created them. Image Comics. The guy who created Spawn created all of the football, basketball, baseball, hockey figurines. So
This
all
guy,
of those figurines come out of Image Comics.
this guy sounds like he's hustling.
Nope, he's been doing it forever. He had a contract from he has a contract for all the sports figures,
Mm-hmm.
action figures, everything.
That's crazy.
He does stuff. He does contract. Sometimes he does contracts with Marvel and DC as well too and stuff. But yeah, he does all the figurines for everybody for the most part.
Well, you see, I told you this earlier. Sometimes you learn something new from each conversation. I was like, I never knew that. That's crazy. And I mean, I'm trying to sort of like wrap my head around the fact that you have a TV show that was based off a comic book series.
Well, my comic book, the cable show was based what came about because of the comic book stuff. And the podcast or the radio show that we did was based off the TV show we did for 5, 6 years. And so,
Damn.
yeah, it's like I said, it's a labor of love. Like it's stuff that we technically did anyway.
Right.
And us getting known, and me personally getting known around, either people know me as doing music or doing production stuff around or an artist. So like, if you it depends on who you ask that question of who was Prince George, they were like, oh, some people were like, oh, he does music, or he does art, or he's attached to Bugsy. He's attached to Bugsy, and I love it. Like,
Man of a coat of many colors.
it's just is. Yeah, I mean, like you got to get known for something, right? You can get known. You're gonna get known for something. You can get known for something, and instead of you allowing people to dictate who you are and what you are known for, you just basically stir people to what you want them to know you for doing.
For that particular person.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like when people walk away from your podcast, right, or
Yeah.
any other project you technically do, right, people gonna know you for something. So they either gonna know you as the guy who does your podcast. They're going to know you for, like, say if you decided later to do, like, say you decide to do music or you decide to do fashion or do whatever the case is, right? Whatever comes next for you from this, right? Someone's going to know you for something you technically did, right? So you're
Right.
like, okay, well, I want you to know me. If you're going to know me for doing this. If you're going to know me for anything else, know me for doing this.
I
When
like
you know
that
me for doing
attitude.
this, I can lead you to everything else I want you to see. I want you to see and do and all that other stuff.
Well, the thing is that when you're working with somebody and you're working on music, it's like you don't go to the foot doctor to get your tooth removed.
Too much.
It's where you you as a person, when you're dealing with somebody and you know someone, you don't know the person because of you don't know the person because of what they do. You know the person because you know who they are and what they were doing, what you know them for doing. It's just like I don't really care. Like, to be honest, for me, I don't really care what people know who I am. I what I care more than anything is that you know, great experience, good time, good vibes, good chills. I'm the kind of person that's just here to talk with people, here to have an experience more than
But you know
anything
how,
else.
but you know
Yeah.
how, but you know how you mentioned the idea of the Bugsy is the gateway to um, all the other characters in what Warzone Comics to bring together, correct?
Right.
Well, Bugsy's known to Warzone Comics as the same way I'll be known to most people. Like I'll be known probably how Bugsy is known to be a part of Warzone Comics, but I'll probably be known more as being Bugsy. So it's kind of like the idea association. Like if you're gonna technically know me for something, I don't have an issue with it. Because then if you like the character Bugsy, great. If you like the company, also great. If you like me as the character or the person, absolutely that's fine. If you if it disturbs you in some way, at least I get you talking about it. Sort of. I have. I don't trip about the idea that whatever you know me for doing, it's still getting you talking about art for the most part. So I think realistically, for me, if I tell you anything, get used to the idea of what people know you for. Like people gonna know you for something, despite if you like it or not. Like people they're gonna know you. Either they gonna know you, right? Or they're gonna know your show of some sort and attach you to it, right? You may not want to be to put it this way. You may not be want to be world famous and rich or whatever. Then you may want to, right? But
I just
being
want to be
rich,
comfortable.
but comfortability. To be honest, comfortability and money comes from is the byproduct of being great at something,
Hmm.
right? Being good at
Yeah.
something or being great at something, right?
Yeah.
Money and fame is a byproduct of being great at something or being or whatever the case, right?
Right.
So just being learning how to be comfortable in your own skin and be like, okay, well, you're knowing me for this, and because you know me for this, and I'm good at this in your brain, you're gonna tune in every week because you know me my personality for doing this. right? And you're gonna give me likes for what I'm doing. And at some point I'm gonna make money from you knowing what I technically do and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You might okay, well, and that's one thing, and I admit that's one of the things you have to adjust to. That's one thing I would just tell you in my career, right? That's one of the things I had to adjust to. People knowing what I did or didn't do, or people knowing what I did behind the scenes or not knowing what I did behind the scenes. It's something you have to technically get used to, right? And once you get used to it, the rest of the stuff that you do comes easier because you have to get over yourself first.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, I'm not a person that's used to be being put into a spotlight. Like I said, all honestly, the reason why I do this is just to have a conversation and talk with somebody and learn something from that other person. But I like that. I like that perspective. It's a really good attitude of that person knows me for Bugsy. Knows me because of the work that I did, and acknowledging that. And that's the honesty and the truth about success is that you were great at something, and that's how you became successful. It's not about the hard work or all the hours that you put into. If you're great at something, you're gonna go places because, like you said, people are gonna keep on coming back. They're gonna be liking and subscribing.
Pretty much, and like I said, that's one of the things I'm learning right now. To be honest, like I'm used to doing long term projects. So the whole YouTube, the whole social media thing is another thing I'm learning how to do. Like you know how you get short form content of 30-second stuff in stories and reels. I'm used to doing that in commercial forms. So like learning how to do that, I honestly say that's something I'm gonna have to technically learn how to do. Like just
It's
give you
hard.
posts of stuff, huh?
I'll tell you this right now. Some of the clips that I put out, like podcast updates, I do 2 vlogs a week. I do sometimes 10 to 16 takes for a 1 minute clip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to technically learn how to do all that, to be honest.
it's hard.
But I'm going to learn it at some point, and I'm going to have fun doing
Oh
it at
yeah.
some point.
I can just picture it. I can just imagine. I'm like, okay, this is shit I'm coming back to. And you can definitely do like parts, like break the clips down. That definitely.
yeah, but that's the funny part because you see this book like this.
Jesus, that's a big book.
Well, I have 50 of these, and
Damn.
the majority of my books are bigger than this. So technically, trying to take little snippets out of these books and parts and projects to make them into reels is my challenge. Learning how to make that bigger thing and a bigger portion of stuff into something that's real small and like okay, and grab your attention with it. It's in my challenge.
The trick that I'm learning is just about flow. It's where when I listen to the whole story, okay, because when I do a whole podcast episode, uh, it's a full hour, right? You're talking about you got a couple of books over there. How the hell do I do this? Um, I personally look at like important things that like spark something in me. I'm like, oh, I remember this. Like this was an interesting thing. You have to like, for me, like I think finding like those pieces, you can then take that storyline, even though it's not the complete storyline, but it's enough that you can give over to somebody that they can have a little bit of an understanding. Like, oh, okay, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a story driven. Again, we're a story driven company. We're a story driven story.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, let me technically clip this idea away and be like, okay, let me strip this to the bare bones and not give you everything because we'll give you everything for you to check your attention. So just strip it down to the bare bones and be like, look, I don't want to give you all that. Okay, great. Yeah.
Mm. Oh my god. Well, you know something? I will say it is kind of fucking exciting and insane that you have a movie coming on. I mean, you got a podcast, you've got a music career. Holy shit. Can you get any more fucking dope than that? That's the way to go.
You know what? I want to technically tell you that we're also working on the game for those who want to know. And we also have our own water line.
Your own waterline?
We have our own
Damn.
water line and toys and things of that nature as well too. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Whew. So let me ask you something. Where can they find you? Where can they find you in the socials?
On all social media platforms, we're under Warzone Comics. Um, yeah, everything on social media is under Warzone Comics. I don't, for the most part. Well, I do have a social media page, but I think it's also under Warzone Comics. So
Okay.
if you want to technically catch up to us and ask questions and all that stuff, is under Warzone Comics. We also have a website. It's Warzone Comics WZC.com, and all of our social media pages attached to it as well. So if you
Even the
want to,
podcast.
and also the podcast is also on the website, and the podcast is also under the Warzone Comics tab on social media on Facebook and Instagram as well.
So definitely check that out. And again, thank you so much for coming on. For any of our listeners, you be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to learn more about the podcast, you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. With that, we'll catch you on the next one. Stay groovy, my friends. Bye, everybody.
See you later, guys. Thanks.